Welcome back, everyone. This is Axomm from Fire Embros, and today I'm here with two fantastic players for another episode of Criminally Underrated. Original Raisins, who's been here many times with us already.
Oh, hello. Yes, it's a pleasure to be back on the show. I'm excited for this episode, man.
And also Adam from FED. We're bringing him on board today because today is a very special game. It's Radiant Dawn.
You said a fantastic player. I'm not sure about that. I'm the okayest player of all time.
I'll give you some credit.
I definitely have opinions, so I'm happy to be here to talk.
Their links are going to be down in the description below, so please check that out. So my pick today for the most underrated unit in Radiant Dawn is actually going to be Zihark.
Zihark of Dawn Brigade fame.
To start off, he is also going to contribute more than most of the members of the Dawn Brigade at base. The double Earth affinity, when he's compiled with Volug or Nolan as a partner, make him one of the best dodge tanks in the game. He has the Earth affinity as his own affinity, meaning that even if you didn't want to pair it with somebody else, he's still going to be super dodgy. The same resources that are claimed to have better use on the Grail Mercenaries, which doesn't really make sense because they're stronger and can deal with that part of the game a lot easier, are better used on Zihark. Like, Jill is very good. I'm not here trying to hate on Jill or say she's bad, but Jill does have some very significant problems, which is she cannot do multiple rounds of combat on enemy phase. Zihark and Volug together actually can do that easily because they have higher bulk, higher avoidance stat, and like Zihark has a really good skill in Adept, meaning he is more capable of one-rounding stuff. Albeit her Canto is useful for Jill, her flying utility is only really useful on about 3 chapters. It's the one with the Lagoose, which you get the Black Knight anyway, the one at the end of part 1, which you get the Black Knight anyway. Can't even bring her to the Swamp Map, which is a slap in the face of the player. Zihark actually has a pretty good base res stat as well, meaning that he can just consistently deal with the mages with the Pure Water, which is something Jill can't do. The guy is available all the time. He is so available that if you decide you want to use him on the Grail Mercenaries, you could do that too. And I'm not arguing that you should. I think he's best on the Dawn Brigade, which is like where he really shines because the Dawn Brigade sucks. Even if you're comparing Swordmasters against Swordmasters themselves, if you look at Zihark versus Mia average stats at around level 11 of Swordmaster, Zihark has superior or equal stats in almost every single category, and at 12 of True Blade, so we're looking at like tower stuff, Zihark already has capped skill, speed, and 1 point less of strength, 4 less of luck, and 3 of defense on average, right? If we're taking the average stats. What I'm trying to say is that their stats are so close to each other that they're indistinguishable if you're trying to make the comparison that one is better than the other, right? But if you look at how they're applied towards their portions of the game, there's a clear winner. Zihark is way better for his portion of the game, and he comes with a much better skill in terms of Adept, having immediate access to Resolve from Tauroneo as well, which he can use in great conjunction and basically proc that all the time. All of this I brought up, I didn't talk a single time about Forges, I didn't talk about the skills besides Resolve, I didn't talk about stat boosters, which is all people say, just give Forges the Steel Sword to Mia or whatever, she's gonna do great. Which none of that you need to do in order to get Zihark rolling. In the tower, he also can contribute because we know that True Blades do actually a lot of damage in the tower as well, and there's nobody that's a better recipient of those resources, even Jill, than Zihark. Like, he just has the stats, the avoid, the affinity, the access to stuff that is just better used on him than anybody else.
So, like, as far as Zihark goes, you mentioned really good performance in all these chapters. Adam, what do you think? Are these like, or any of these chapters, let's just say like before part 4, right? Like just the part 1 and the part 3 chapters. Are there any of these chapters where you just think Zihark is like total dookie rubbish and it's like, actually, no, you're overrating him here? Like just chapters where you just hate Zihark's performance?
Honestly, none come to mind. Zihark is consistent everywhere. Mm-hmm. I really struggle with your comparison to Jill. And I think you are overrating his combat in comparison to the support that comes with a flyer. And you spoke a lot about Jill's contribution in part 1, but I think it's worth noting that Jill really excels in part 3, which are arguably more difficult maps. So the investment that you'd be dumping into Zihark by giving him, you know, a Seraph Robe and a Draco Shield that could go to Jill, I think are actively hurting the overall performance of your army in 3.6 and 3.12 in particular. I don't love that comparison, but for part 1, I see what you mean. Comparable to Mia as far as stats go, but he's good in a harder part of the game or with around weaker units. The only thing I will say, I don't feel like Adept is huge. I think you're overrating Adept a little bit. It's a percentage chance of happening, which is never reliable. It's not like you can like fish for that really. It's just kind of if it happens, it happens, and sometimes it's cool, but usually he would just kill anyways. Or
I will say actually, I am kind of a fan of the innate Adept because I think okay, yes, it is certainly a percentage chance to activate, but one thing about Zihark is that he does actually have this really long biorhythm curve, which means that if you can identify like a very important chapter for him and ensure that he's going to be at max bio throughout that, he does have quite good Adept proc chance. And the thing is, it's not just Adept, but he also has this 20% innate crit as True Blade, and he also has this Astra as True Blade, and he also has this double Earth Affinity, which in itself is basically like a proc chance, right? And the fact that that Adept is innate allows him to maybe put something extra, say Resolve, say Vantage on him. And at that point, it's this kind of thing where there are so many different skills and so many different effects at such a high proc rate that like something is going to proc, right? Like at least one of Adept or Crit or Astra or Vantage or Dodge is going to proc, right? And so this is really improving his performance. So I do think that like just looking at Adept is kind of missing the whole picture, that it's one of several different pieces and the joint probability of any procking is like quite high. And I do think that that is like actually really important to his strength in 3-6. I will say to your argument though that I think it's kind of unfair to give Zihark credit for being both amazing in late game and amazing in early game, because I think a large part of the recipe for Zihark's success in early game is actually the 3-6 Master Crown and early promoting him at 10 for that map. A level 1 True Blade with like low 20s strength and maybe like mid 20s, maybe like high 20s speed. Pretty awful HP at the end of the day, which in my opinion is not at all a recipe for success for endgame stats. I feel like you got to give him credit for one or the other, but you can't give him credit for both, because I don't really see how a Zihark who's earning the early Master Crown is ever going to keep up in stats with just, forget about Mia, just like any other foot infantry unit, and forget about Stefan. He's like literally, I'm pretty sure from that point onwards, he could get like perfect level ups, and he doesn't even match Stefan.
So I can definitely see your point of like, I can't overrate him on both, right? Like that's your argument. Like I can't be like he's great at early game, but he's also great at end game.
Yeah, just units in general. I think a lot of it just comes from like the early promotion, kind of like gutting the EXP gain and cutting the upper level performance. If this was the unit whom I'm promoting at like say 21, then I think that is like a very fair and valid argument to make. But with the early Master Crown, I think it's pretty, and I do think that the early Master Crown is actually like pretty critical for his success. I'm kind of curious that you weren't going on about it more. How do you feel about this early Master Crown allocation? Do you really enjoy like giving it to Zihark and say like this is where I think it's best placed, or would you rather give it to Jill, or would you rather save it for a Grail Mercenaries unit? I'm really curious to know how you like want to invest that resource.
I wanted to make sure that if I brought Zihark to the table, I wanted to analyze him without investing any resource that can go to anybody, right? Because if I talk about Master Crowning him, then we can talk about Master Crowning Jill, and we can talk about Master Crowning like Nolan or whatever. Like we can keep on going with this. So my point was just that's why I try to look at level 11, like the average stats on level 11, because I think it's a reasonable assumption for you to be like, well, I can get Zihark to level 11 by chapter 3-6.
If I'm being real, I think the thing is Zihark's performance is like just good enough that like he can shirk a lot of the stat boosters, exactly enough for him to get by, and it's like exactly enough for the whole Dawn Brigade to get by. And then what I do with the rest of the stat boosters is actually just ship them off to the Grail Mercenaries, because that army sucks and the Dawn Brigade is amazing.
What? What? Now that's a hot take. I'm not gonna lie. That's a hot take.
I really hesitate to just kind of accept the narrative that he's just going to be owning everything in 3-6 and owning everything in 3-12 and owning everything in endgame, when it's like, it was actually kind of a chore to get him promoted, and when he's promoted, I think you kind of just like tank his endgame potential by a lot.
I just wanted to say for the people at home that maybe don't know a lot about Radiant Dawn, Raisins has brought up like endgame performance, and in a lot of other Fire Emblem games, you can promote a unit at level 10. It's even like recommended a lot of times, and they'll be able to contribute with like high good stats in endgame. Radiant Dawn is kind of a special case where capping stats is very common.
But I will say, like, as awesome as he is and as amazing as he is still, kind of, Adam, as you brought up, relying on a lot of these procs. He's relying on at least one of Adept, or at least one of Crit, or at least one of Dodge to go through. That's the main reason why I think like you're maybe overrating this unit a little bit. Is not to say that like, oh, he's actually worse than Jill. Jill's better. I do personally prefer Zihark to Jill. I just think we need to hedge the narrative a bit and say like he's just barely good enough, but that's it. He's just barely good enough.
All right, so my unit that I'm bringing to the table, who I think is criminally underrated, is Lyre, the Laguz. And not only does she have a cool design with a cool rainbow scarf, because that's important, guys. She also is a lot better than people give her credit for. So to start, I need to talk about Laguz units, and specifically non-royals. Basically, no one is great when you compare them to the likes of Tabarn or Kanagis or Gifka even. Looking at our Laguz friends who maybe don't just get to have form shift from the get-go. The biggest complaint people have with Laguz, of course, is the meter. That is horribly blown out of proportion when you consider that Laguz items are incredibly available all throughout Radiant Dawn, especially Part 3, where Lyre is present. And in particular, there are 20 Allevi grasses just available for Ike's party. So it really just comes down to being willing to spend a turn managing your Laguz meter. Stat boosters are crazy on Laguz. I don't really see people talk about this much. You give them an energy drop, that's not just +2 strength, that's +4 strength. Those are just some small things that I think need to be addressed with Laguz in general before we move into Lyre. I'm not going to change the game or the meta or anything right now. I just want to convince you viewers, Lyre does not deserve to be in the same conversation as units like Fiona or Meg. On average, Lyre will cap her skill and speed at level 30 and level 31 respectively. Past those two, which are her highest growths, those two stats, her next three are HP, luck, and strength. So her biggest problem is strength, right? So post level 31, you can patch her most important stat with bonus experience. And that's if you don't give her any stat boosters. As I established before, Laguz get extra benefit from using stat boosters outside of a luck booster and an HP booster. 2 energy drops available to the Grail Mercenaries if you count the one from Part 2 Endgame. The Grail Mercenaries are kind of busted, don't really need it, so you could save it for Lyre. Again, I'm not saying this is the best use of the stat booster, but it's something you can do. It's not that high investment in my opinion, and it makes it so Lyre is automatically dealing +4 damage or +8 damage when she's doubling. Cats, which is with Lyre's class, have a speed cap of 40. That allows for doubling of the final boss auras without the need of a buff from the dragons. Really fun strat with Lyre in the tower for the final boss is just to give her parity, allows her to deal some solid damage. Another underrated thing about Lyre, one of the best imbue users. At base, she has 12 magic while transformed, and without any boosters or anything naturally raised throughout the game, she'll have about 15 or 16 by the end of the game. She also has the incredible skill and speed to mitigate what many consider the worst mechanic in Tellius, being biorhythm. But really what it comes down to is that Lyre comes at a time where there's plenty of there are some stat boosters to go around that aren't super claimed in my experience. Again, I don't even think she's like a mid-tier. I would say she's like bottom of mid-tier, maybe like better than a Meg or a Fiona, and more in line with say an Edward, an Aaron, something like that.
Just so that I'm like getting a gauge on how exactly you're rating it. It's not, like some amazing person. It's not, like one of the best ones or even like best in category. Unit who's serviceable if you desire to use them for arbitrary reasons.
Exactly, because people, I feel like the prevailing narrative is that she is like unsalvageable.
Yeah, like if I'm gonna be honest, I put her down in like bottom 5 units in like FE as like I'm ignoring DSFE for the moment. It's like this unit is total dookie rubbish garbage fire.
And I think that stems from just an underrating of Laguz in general outside of Royals. And I think that by virtue of being a Laguz, Lyre has a lot of things that she can do that just make her innately okay.
So I ask this not to challenge your point, but more so just to understand it better and understand like what exactly is the point you're making about Lyre. And that is, you mentioned these resources such as, say, the energy drop. You mentioned these resources such as, say, the bonus experience. Why to Lyre as opposed to, say, like, literally anybody else, such as, I don't know, for example, the 2 other cats who joined at the exact same time, Ranulf and Leith, who I think just have outright better stats in every way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, originally when I used her, I was given like $40 to use her. Maybe those who get paid to do it is who I'm talking to. No, I love it. And see, I almost changed my mind last minute to change this topic to Ranulf. And I don't know. It's the zero to hero kind of thing where she has bad, starts off bad, gets okay.
I do want to ask about the starts off bad part, because I think really part of the story of Lyre is like just even getting her off the ground in the first place. Like, because even her 11 base speed, which gets doubled to 22 when she transforms, is like actually pretty atrocious for her join time. It doubles like some of the Thunder and Wind Sages in her join map. Okay, it also doubles the generals, but like, let's get real. But how do you propose like best getting her off the ground?
With an energy drop, I believe, maybe I'm misremembering. I feel like she does energy drop. She does kill mages on her join chapter, and then maybe a BXP level or two to get her speed up. What makes Laguz good in general is just that they can kind of explode statistically with even just bonus experience. So like give her 2 levels in bonus experience, she's going to get 2 speed, which is 4 speed. That gets her to higher doubling thresholds. So yeah, it requires a lot of investment. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Lyre's good, but she's better than given credit.
What do you have to think about this, Axomm?
So I like that you brought up that, the stat boosters translate to 4 points as opposed to 2. I always say this. I think the Laguz are the best recipients of stat boosters in Radiant Dawn. The thing with Lyre, though, is that transformed, she still has 14 strength at base. That's like 1 more than base Tormod. The 22 speed, albeit it's bad, I guess you could work with it if you give her 2 level ups, and she's going to increase those. I do think one thing she has for her is her defensive and magical bulk is actually not bad. It's 64 defensive and 65 magical bulk. I think I did this set at base, which isn't bad if you think about it with 22 speed, meaning she could probably tank a couple of successive hits and be fine. The one beef I do have is that she doesn't have access to any really good skills. I think I've seen Howl proc once in all of my experience of Radiant Dawn. The biggest detriment I would say to the whole Lyre experience is that she just gets nerfed experience when transformed, like to a significant degree. It's really, really nerfed experience when Laguz is transformed. And she needs a whopping 13 levels to be able to access Rend. It's just so much effort to get her to get the base skill that Ranulf gets right then and there. Like if you had done Ranulf, if you had come in here and walked like, yo, Ranulf is underrated. He's actually really good if you just quickly get him to Rend, and he can contribute a lot in the chapters he's in. He's force deployed all the time. I would have been like, bro, totally agree. Like Ranulf is right there. But she's not even a good shove bot. Like transformed, she doesn't have enough weight to shove most of the cast. She can't be rescued because it's too high to be rescued at transformed. I'll give you this though, she's a great user of the cards, like the demon cards and stuff at base, because she has like 12 base magic, so like, that's nice, I guess.
It's kind of funny you bring up the shove, because actually I think that's what I'd use Lyre for the most, more than anything. It's just like a random like half shift like shove or half shift smite, but in some like random part 4 map it's like, oh, I need to half shift smite, let me use Lyre for it because it's funny. But I kind of disagree, Axomm, maybe with your characterization of it. Yeah, the EXP gain is kind of rough, but I think really the story is like, how do you get that first level, and how do you like, roll the RNG or roll the gacha on that first level, as it were. To address Adam's point, Adam, your entire point is that like, if you try, you can make it work, right? Which, to be honest, looking at the EXP formulas and looking at the bonus EXP formulas, pretty well feasible. By the time she joins the 3-3, it's about half of your Bex pool to get her to 1799. And I think from there, I would like give her Blossom and then just try to like send her forth. Who cares what her EXP gain is? Like, I'm gonna get an amazing level on the first one, and really all I need to do is get over that 24 speed hump. But in this case, like, I actually do kind of have to join Axomm here and say like, okay, I've come up with a good plan to get like, level 18 Lyre, the first one, but like, what about all the rest of them? Because actually that's a pretty good point, right? Like 24 speed only lasts you for like so long. This 14 or this 18 strength or whatever only lasts you so long. What's your plan for getting her to 30? Because there is actually a pretty good point to be made here that when she's transformed and fighting,
let me be real with you, it didn't feel that difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she gained experience at a fine rate, and that once she got going, she was fine, and she was able to keep up. Once given a little bit of favoritism to start.
You have a good point, and actually I'm really impressed, and I'm really like, yeah, in comparison to the other like, historically garbage units of Radiant Dawn, this one is actually unique in the sense that like, if you try to activate her, it's going to work. We should probably, when making this kind of argument, forget about my usual qualm. My usual qualm is like, okay, what if you just like use the good units instead? And the experience is like, not only is it fun using crappy units, but this one, unlike Fiona and Meg, like actually activated, right?
Yeah, this one like actually worked instead of like Fiona.
Yeah, and like I'm really glad that you brought up the point, because I do think it's like a unique perspective. It's like we need to actually remember, like at the end of the day, there are units who are like actually so unsalvageably garbage that no amount of investment can bring them out of the hole, and Lyre isn't one of them. And like I hadn't really thought about it that way, but yeah, you're right. Like this is a unit who can be activated, and frankly, a lot of it like is due to the Laguz. I really agree with you, and I'm glad you brought up like that the Laguz mechanics are quite a bit overhated, because there's a lot to like about the Laguz as well. All right, look, we're coming in here. I gotta flip the narrative. Dawn Brigade rocks, and a huge part of that, man, is Tauroneo. He is literally the GOAT. Tauroneo is so good. All this like garbage stat boosters, all these items from the Dawn Brigade, don't even need them. Ship them over to the Grail Mercs, because Tauroneo's got this covered, I'm telling you. Frequently slandered in Radiant Dawn as having like, you know, bad availability, as having like bad endgame potential. Keeps on being absent for all these random part 1 maps, I think is like a lot of the thing. And like he's even absent for 3-6 very mysteriously. He's still showing up here in 1-6. He's still showing up here in 3-12 and 3-13, which are 2 very important maps. And in those maps, dude, he literally just owns everything. It's actually outrageous how insane this unit is. First off, 161, 162, I think it should come as no surprise. He literally just walks forward and like destroys everything and doesn't get killed. What I want to speak to mostly is 3-12 and 3-13, because I think these are 2 maps where a newer player might get swindled into looking at these maps and thinking, man, I got to train up my Dawn Brigade in order to pass these, right? When in reality, you actually just have the one-man solve already there, and that man is Tauroneo. You can actually just get through the entire rest of the Dawn Brigade. Like, the game ends at 3-6 for this army, basically. First of all, in 3-12, he has the best movement of any unit in the Dawn Brigade, which is crazy. I know, a general having the best movement? Nah, dude, check him out. He's deployed on the far west. None of the other units are. He's literally deployed like 2 turns ahead. It's like he got danced twice, right? This guy, insane movement. He just goes down the cliff instantly in the enemy's faces, instantly one-rounding like 13 guys on the enemy face. Just crazy good. Like, even Joe can't do that. Even Joe can't get sent that far. I think even if you like shove Zihark like 5 times or something, he's not even going to make it that far. 3-13 is pretty similar. He has this nice forward position. He can just move down, but also he can just, you know, make it down to bottom center and then like make it down to Ike, I think, on turn 2, if you desire to. I've seen like a lot of LTCs get Tauroneo down there to just kill Ike on turn 2. It's quite good. Next up is the stats. Now, I understand I was just lauding the Dawn Brigade for being able to get away with little investment. I'm going to suggest some investment in Tauroneo, all right? You just got to bear with me. Master Crown Speedwing Tauroneo goes 2 squares south on 3-12 and instantly kills like half the objective. All you need is that. It's literally that shrimple. Okay, he needs a hand axe. Oh no, but like get a hand axe, guys. Come on. Like we all know that was obviously part of the strat. Instantly goes down, takes out everybody. The Luna skill like kind of comes up, but most of it is him using the +2 attack from the high ground bonus and the +40 hit from the high ground bonus to just like destroy whoever ends up being down at the bottom. In 3-13, I think at that suggested investment level that I gave with the Brave Axe and his resolve skill, he's one-rounding basically every Ike with the Brave Axe. Like he attacks with the Brave Axe, Ike counterattacks, hits him. As long as he's not critting, then Tauroneo instantly activates resolve and just like destroys Ike on the next follow-up, because you can actually earn a brand new follow-up if you like resolve procs midway through the combat. Chapter 3-12, oftentimes regarded as a very difficult map, just instantly solved by Tauroneo. Chapter 3-13, instantly solved by Tauroneo. And I understand you might be saying like, what the heck, these are just 2 maps, but the fact that it's the 2 like most stat-heavy maps for the Dawn Brigade just completely changes the entire like strategy of this army. It's no longer, oh, I need to find investment targets, I need to just be feeding EXP into people, I need to put all the stat boosters on Jill. No, it's, oh, this army has literally already won the game because I have Tauroneo. That's the whole reason why Tauroneo is underrated. It's not even like just any of the one things he does, it's what he represents for the Dawn Brigade. He is just a unit who at base or at base plus promo, which you do get a promo item in 3-12 straight away, you get it from the base combo, instantly solves this back half of the game. And so the entire rest of the Dawn Brigade like no longer has anything that they need to train for. All they need to do is just get by. And so in a way, even though he's really only available for these 2 maps, he makes all of the prior maps easier, because the like all these trash Dawn Brigade units who you'd be like, oh my goodness, I'd have to train them up, no longer have to do that. All they have to do is worry about the here and now, because they have their savior Tauroneo who can just come in later and deal with the entire endgame for them. That's basically my whole point about Tauroneo. It's like, he represents so much like late part 3 power for the Dawn Brigade that it actually just shifts the whole strategy. These guys just need to get by. You can even take all these stat boosters. You can take this Angelic Robe. You can take this energy drop. You can even take this Brave Sword and just transfer it over to the Grail Mercenaries. The Dawn Brigade doesn't need it. They own because they have Tauroneo. That's the whole point.
I think Tauroneo is actually really, really good. People often rate units based on like their end game potential and whatever. That doesn't matter. You're most likely not going to take very many units that you trained into the tower if you're using the best units, right? I like that you say that he makes all prior maps easier because you don't have to worry about training other units. That's kind of cool, interesting thought. I think you do I think you're downplaying some of those maps he's not available for, namely 3-6. I do think that one is a little more difficult than you're giving credit for. It does require you to train up a unit or 2 that can handle it. Because honestly, at that point, I think Soth is falling off a little bit. I think if you didn't use Zihark or invest into him, he's starting to fall off a little bit there. I think that is a little blown out of proportion. I don't know. You brought up like LTCing. If you're going to LTC 313, sure. But there's a lot of angles to cover. He doesn't just like win the map for you if you're going to play it like casually or normally, right?
Yeah, for sure. I will say, like, to the point of 3-13, yeah, I understand that, like, walking down and killing the boss very quickly is, like, not exactly the strategy that everyone will take. Like, I do want to just state outright, there's nothing wrong with wanting to take that map and, like, trying to achieve the defend condition. But I think even if you're doing that, like, Tauroneo is still the GOAT. Like,
sure. You're trying to... he's really strong.
You can literally plant him anywhere, and he's a wall.
Yeah,
if you're playing for
like,
defend.
Tauroneo's availability is the number one problem that people always complain about. Is just trash. I do agree that he can do something unique, right? You brought it up here. I didn't expect that. He definitely is unique in that regard. And if you take into consideration that like the Black Knight is there for the end game of part 1, how much are you really missing Tauroneo? Like, you know what I mean? Like, does it really matter? Like, no, because you have the Black Knight there. I definitely do agree that he shines way more in the Sonic chapter. And the way you described his starting positions was absolutely hilarious.
He's forced.
Yeah, he is, and he's just great there too. Like, it's almost like the game told you this is where he needs to be, and he will do the work, and he does do the work. And I'll even argue he does it without even the Master Crown. Like, he can still hold that
even base, he is solid there. He doesn't one round a lot of the faster enemies and stuff, whatever, but he is still solid.
But like, there still is endgame. You know, we still have to get through those chapters. And what really are Tauroneo's contributions at endgame? Like, or at any point after part 4? Like, let's just start away looking at his speed cap. So for the most part, on the first maps, if he's on average at 20, 11. So you got to get him to level 20 and then promote him to 11 to double stuff. After that, after the first 2 chapters, he needs at least 28 speed to double the majority of the enemies. He can only double the mages and the generals in the towers itself, because he can't double anything else because everybody has a higher speed cap than he does. Or at least higher than even higher than the threshold necessary to reach for him to double. So it's like if somebody has 28 speed, that's it. He's not doubling it anymore. Unless he's in resolve range, right? And
you just said it. There is resolve. There is like an option if you want to. Then
he does have innate resolve, but I would argue.
Innate resolve, actually.
But I would argue that innate resolve is actually something in his disadvantage because, like, if you're not taking that, if you're not taking that resolve, I'll explain why. If you're not taking that resolve off of him and giving it to the Dawn Brigade, like, you're doing it wrong. Like, let's just be honest. The resolve sitting on a unit that's disappeared for like 3/4 of the game is wasted. It's absolutely, it's like not taking celerity off of Tormod. Like, what are we doing? Like,
I do kind of agree with this point.
Like, you have to take it off. Like, it's not saying that it's on him and it's great because it's free. It's not the same as like Zihark having free adept. It's like you want it off of him so that other people can use it because it's wasted if it's not used.
Yeah.
And
I gotta
resolve Micaiah, baby.
Yeah,
I gotta take it off of Tauroneo and like ship it over to the Grail Mercs.
The Grail Mercs.
They need the help, man.
If
Mike doesn't have resolve, he dies. I'll give a little bit of pushback on 312. That is only one side of the map. The other half still has stuff to be taken care of, and if you don't take care of it, then Micaiah gets rushed and you lose.
That's true. Yeah, Tauroneo is only as good as like the other 12 Dawn Brigade units and all like 20 yellow units over there combined.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that.
True. Yeah, there's another map.
I think there is another half. There's another half of the map. There's still plenty of units to be killed, and to say that he's the only one you need is blowing it out of proportion a little bit.
Where exactly do you feel that he's being underrated on?
I do think that like people just are overhating the availability. I think like it has some gaps, But at the end of the day, like I counted the chapters, it's like it's Janaf and Ulki levels of availability, right? And like people don't usually complain about them. They're like, oh, mid-game joiner.
Same way you asked like about Lyre, how are you getting him to contribute in that tower?
I gotta admit, I do agree his caps are kind of dookie rubbish. And when I look at like his stats after I train him up, because like I'm gonna be real, I don't give him like a single level in part 1. Like, are you serious? Like I don't even think there's 100 enemies in part 1 that he can kill. Right, and like that's what he would need. If he's just the GOAT in 161 and the GOAT in 162 and the GOAT in 3-12 and the GOAT in 3-13, then that's 4 maps. In my mind, that's like a Royal Laguz right there, man. Like he ought to be up there.
This is the best.
Same contribution levels as Kanagas for sure.
Yes,
I'm telling you. Yeah, no, for real.
On harder parts too, if we add it, because like like who's there to carry, right? Like,
what do you mean? Like Tauroneo can't double spirits. Like Kanagas can't double like the boss of 44. Like, come on.
In all seriousness, though, I think his inability to contribute like at all at part 4 is really what hampers is where you're overrating him.
I'll take the L on like his endgame performance, right? At the end of the day, he's legal to deploy and fight during that type of the game, and he could get owned. All right, I'll take that L.
12. So I think we can all agree that I won today's debate.
That's right.
Oh, for sure. The scarf alone.
The scarf alone. Honestly, I don't think people realize she has a rainbow scarf, and honestly, it's super cool.
All right, so that wraps up our episode of Criminally Underrated. What do you guys think? Do you think that Zihark is the best? Do you think that Lyre is the best? Do you think that Tauroneo is the best? Let us know down in the comments below. Thank you, Raisins, and thank you, Adam, for being here today.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on the show. It was a real treat.
Yeah, I'm always happy to be on Axomm. You're a good guy. Hope the family's doing well, and hope you have much success here on YouTube.
See, even Milo agrees that you should like and subscribe this video, so please go ahead and do that right now. Once again, thank you guys for watching, and you all have a wonderful day.